Hi guys, and welcome back to another Off the Cuff. Today I'm going to be mostly whining about Tony Blair. So, for those of you that don't know, those lucky few, Tony Blair ruled over the UK between 1997 and 2010, 2009-10. Well, I think the last 2 or 3 years it was Gordon Brown, but it was the same party. It was the party of Blair. He is a sort of establishment left guy. He's a difficult person to describe, really, because he was great mates with George Bush, but at the same time he was very much a sort of globalist. That's probably the best way to describe him. He was an establishment leftist and a globalist. But he wasn't kind of one of those people that's just hardcore communism, not the sort of people you see today. They're very much into their Marxism and all of that sort of stuff. It was more about globalism for him. It was also about money, because I think between him and I think he's worth 270 million now, and before he was prime minister, he was worth like 300,000. His son, I believe, has 48 homes in London. Obviously, most of them are rented out, many of which were ex-council homes. In the UK, we provide people that can't afford the increases in rent, reduced rents by giving them council-built accommodation. And some of these houses, as certain areas get nicer, can suddenly be worth like 1.2 million when they probably cost 30-40 grand to build. Anyway, so yeah, he was the sole reason, really, that we all ended up in the Middle East. For those of you that don't know, it was him that convinced George Bush that they could pull off the weapon of mass destruction deal. He played a part in providing incorrect intelligence. One of our own, I'm going to do an episode on this. One of the UK's own WMD inspectors that said, we couldn't find anything, turned up dead, walking his dog on like open grassland, and just randomly died. And they were like, don't know how he died. Anyway, Tony Blair, who was a big supporter of Biden, because obviously he's against Trump and anything remotely to the right of CNN, BBC, just the establishment sort of cosmopolitan left. And he's been throwing his punches at Biden. He came out and said that he was an imbecile for pulling out of the Forever Wars. So let's have a look at this article. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair says Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan is imbecilic. British media blew up yesterday following the publication of an op-ed in a prominent think tank publication by former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, who calls Joe Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan imbecilic. Blair, a darling of the left while he was in office, so I think pretty much everyone despises him now and thinks he's a war criminal, says Biden's decision to pull the troops out was not based on any grand strategic objective, but rather in obedience to an imbecilic political slogan about ending the Forever Wars. Yes, what an imbecilic thing to want, to end forever wars. Blair, who was Prime Minister during the 9/11 crisis and subsequent invasion of Afghanistan, noted in the article that no coalition troops had died in combat over the last 18 months. Yeah, because they had an agreement in place. Everybody knows it was because they had an agreement in place. They knew people were going, so they were behaving themselves. In a thinly veiled attack on the Democratic president, whom Mr. Blair had praised in January as the right man in the right place at the right time. Okay, he writes, "We didn't need to do it. We chose to do it. We did it in obedience to an imbecilic political slogan about ending the Forever Wars, as if our engagement in 2021 was remotely comparable to our commitment 20 or even 10 years ago. In circumstances in which Troop numbers had declined to a minimum, and no Allied soldier had lost their life in combat for 18 months. Right, but if America and Trump hadn't decided to come out, would we have not lost any lives in 18 months? And the answer to that would be no. Don't be a knob. Although Mr. Blair avoids mentioning Mr. Biden by name throughout the 2,700-word article, the Forever War slogan he attacks was at the heart of the former vice president's election campaign last year, with his official website from the election stating, "Biden will end the forever wars in Afghanistan and the Middle East, which have cost us untold blood and treasure." So yeah, a bit rich. Not wanting to end the forever wars. I mean, gee, how long do you want us to be there for? And why are we even there? We shouldn't be there. This is not our country. So he thinks we're just making gradual progress and we'll just stay there for however long it takes. We cannot go around the world altering things so that they're the way we want, just because it makes him and his cronies an absolute ton of cash. I just can't believe he said that. I mean, I can, because it's Tony Blair. And, like I say, in this country, pretty much everyone on any side except the mainstream media and the establishment left despise Tony Blair. What he said about, it's a risk to us, it's already risky to us. It's not like just because they can't do it in Afghanistan, they don't do it. We've been having terrorist attacks of one type or another pretty consistently for the last 20 years. And the fact that they were chilled for 18 months in Afghanistan is entirely because of the deal that was drawn up between the last administration and the Taliban. Like it or not, that was why everything chilled out. This was his way of performing damage limitation the next day, because this was 2 or 3 days ago now.
I support a lot of what President Biden has done since becoming president. I mean, I have a great respect and admiration for him as a person. And I understand he inherited this agreement of February 2020, which was very difficult. And I also understand if you're a political leader, you're under political pressure, people want the engagement to end. But we've got to realize we were in a situation where our engagement was dramatically different from where it was 10 years ago, never mind 20 years ago, and where we could have managed the situation. And the problem with what's happened now, and this is my worry, is that it's not just about the Afghan people and our obligation to them. And obviously, you feel, distressed when you see people realizing what they're going to lose as a result of the Taliban coming back into power. But it's not just about the Afghan people, it's about us and our security. Because you've now got this group back in charge of Afghanistan. They will give protection and succor to Al-Qaeda. You've got ISIS already in the country trying to operate at the same time. You look around the world and the only people really cheering this decision are the people hostile to Western interests. We had a manageable situation, we could have carried on managing it and helping the country. But it's also because in the end, and as I say this despite I've got a huge respect for Joe Biden as a president and as a person, a policy can't be decided by a slogan. It's got to be decided on the basis of a strategy. And that's a different thing. And that's really the purpose of what I was saying.
So yeah, there you go. He's sort of whimpering like, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that. All I was saying that it was just he's either trying to sort of set the stage for Kamala. Is it Kamala or Kamala? Whatever. He's either trying to set the stage for that. It just seems to me like he's either he wants us back in there, or maybe he just kind of woke up the next day and he was like, "Whoops, they're not gonna like that." Either way, the guy drives me insane. I do think that there is nuance in this whole thing. Like, I don't think we should be there. But at the same time, I think it was done in a ridiculous manner. And I think it was done like that for stupid reasons. But I think we'll learn a lot more in the following weeks and months. I think the excuse that we're under more threat, not being in Afghanistan, So what do we do? Just stay there until when? So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm always interested, and often it makes me chuckle, punk. And yeah, I will see you again soon.
I constantly say to people there are no decisions that have been made in relation to Iraq at all, but there is no doubt that Iraq poses a threat in respect to weapons of mass destruction, and there is no doubt that this issue is an issue that should be dealt with. There is no doubt at all the United Nations resolutions that Saddam is in breach of are there for a purpose. He is, without any question, still trying to develop that chemical, biological, potentially nuclear capability, and to allow him to do so without any let or hindrance, just to say we can carry on and do it, I think would be irresponsible. Look, I would never support anything I thought was wrong. I would never support anything I thought was wrong. I would never support anything I thought was wrong out of some blind loyalty.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish